today's program. So we'll review some of the higher education challenges in India and then focus on the National Education Policy 2020. I'll take you through some of the inner workings at the AICTE implementation plan strategy committee, who were the members, what was the areas of focus, and then the guidance in terms of short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, and some press coverage for the work we had done at the AICT committee level. Now, the biggest issue will be that it's a excellent education policy coming after 34 years, but will that be implemented across all educational institutes throughout India in a systematic and standardized manner? So that is the question we need to think about. So I'll take you through some of the challenges we face to implement NEP effectively, and to help in that direction, suggesting a simple project structure. So essentially think of it this way: deployment of NEP 2020 is nothing short of a major project, and it requires to have a sound project structure and lots of recommendations. And particularly, I'll focus on the on-the-ground work we have done for NEP 2020 implementation, focusing on motivated, energized, and capable faculty, both at the ATAL, AICT, ATAL FDP level, and Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education, IUCEE FDPs. Uh, and under IUCE, various FDPs have been delivered since the beginning of the year on leadership, project leaders, project management, and all faculties. And NEP implementation projects in terms of the Baldrige self-assessment, community service plan, motivated, energized, and capable faculty, research and innovation, ranking, and technology use and integration. And then I'll summarize the presentation at the end. So let's begin with the higher education challenges in India. Now, some of these items were covered on day 2, session 1 for innovative pedagogy and effective assessment session I delivered. Now, the way I have structured in this program for this session is that this is the driving force. We are wedded to the old British system, and as a result, the whatever the students graduate from the engineering colleges, they are not up to the par in terms of the right skill set, etc. So with over 6,000 engineering and technology institutes enrolling almost 3 million students on a yearly basis, and every year 1.5 million engineers enter the job market, 1 million coming from the engineering side, rest 500,000 from polytechnic and diploma granting institutes. Now, in New Delhi, there is a group called Aspiring Minds, a company which surveyed 150,000 engineering students and found barely 7% of them were suitable for core engineering jobs. So imagine only 7% can handle the core engineering jobs. So in other words, graduates who are passing through most of the institutes, leaving aside some reputable one, they are not skilled enough to be productive, and they are adding to the unemployment row, unemployment lines in India, and that is a worrisome situation. Now, here I have put together based on my experience in the academics, both here in US since over 28 years, and then teaching in India since 2006 formally, but around 2000 working with the executives in various industries. The current state, the way we operate using the decade, the actually century-old British system, the learning method is all rote learning and dry theories. On the right side, the desired state we need to move, and here we can use NEP 2020 to start having a focus on inquiry-based learning and having the best-in-class practices by bringing the practical knowledge into the classroom. Academic curriculum, currently a lot of institutes have outdated curriculum, and most of the institutes throughout India, there is no soft skills in the curriculum. Later on in the presentation, I will refocus on the importance of soft skills. So in the academic curriculum side, we need to align the curriculum to the needs of the industry and must integrate soft skill courses in the curriculum. Quality of education, there is a lack of quality both at the system and curriculum level. So the quality needs to be included and instilled both at the system level, at the higher level, and in all curriculum, all courses in the curriculum. Very important for all of us as a faculty to get the proper knowledge, how industry works. So get the industry experience. Either you work in the industry and join academia, or you work in the academia right away after getting your higher degree, but you start consulting with the industry so you understand how the real life problems are solved and continue to upgrade the knowledge. And I was very fortunate that when I started teaching, I already had 17 years of work experience with me, and that allowed me to bridge the gap between theory and the practice. And my students appreciated that in the graduate program in the business school. We do not have much industry interactions at the institute level, and that needs to change by bringing people from the industry to join the advisory boards at the department level, at the institute level. And one of the most critical component for the success of any organization, institute, education institute, is the alumni engagement. And unfortunately, in India, we do not value the alumni. Here in the Western world, they are essentially put on the pedestal, and they get engaged and bring in real resources for upgrading the curriculum, developing some research projects, consulting, bringing the real resources, money for the institute, and they can really be very resourceful to help the institute to reach at the next higher level. So this is the state of affairs. We need to move from the current state to the desired state as quickly as we can, and definitely use the NEP 2020 implementation as a vehicle to achieve the desired state. Now we saw what happened, what's happening with our current education system. On July 29, 2020, the central government approved the National Education Policy 2020. And it's a 66-page document. And if you have not read it, please Google it, and you will be able to get access of the article PDF format available from the Government of India, Ministry of HRD, which is now Ministry of Education. It's a wonderful policy put together under the leadership of Dr. K. Kasturirangan. And the real challenge is how do we take that policy and make a uniform implementation across India for all higher education institutes. So that is the real challenge we need to think about. And my presentation will focus on various aspects of that.
Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nidhaye Sarva Vidyanam Vishaje Bhavarogina गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः.
So all the teachers, all the gurus have a lot of role to play in implementation of the National Education Policy 2020. And this was the tribute to all my teachers and gurus, which I was so very fortunate to have, starting at the elementary, middle level, high school, early years in the college, pre-BTech, so pre-undergrad, undergrad, grad, postgraduate work done over the years. And if we have great teachers, and if all of you who are attending the program become the excellent faculty, then you have a lot of responsibility to shape the lives of the future generation of leaders in India. So you have a lot of things under your shoulder, and don't take it lightly. Try to be the best teacher, best faculty as you can become, and think of you as a powerful transmitter. If your knowledge is up to date, you're keeping track of cutting edge information and able to excite your students in the classroom, you are the most powerful transmitter. However, the receiver, the students, needs to have the properly attuned antenna, and they need to be excited to receive the knowledge you are transmitting. So both hands needs to be in the best possible shape. Then only the knowledge will be transferred. Now, one of the fundamental thing we need to remember is the purpose of the education is not just to get the degree and get a job. Purpose is to instill in each and every student who pass through higher education institutes, even the school system, K through 12, that we need to inculcate in them the character building values. And these are listed here as a foundation. Ethics, honesty, and integrity are must. Then compassion for others, practice of non-violence, practice of truth, followed by respect for elderly, respect for the environment, and reverence for teachers or the gurus. And they need to be instilled with the spirit of collaboration and cooperation rather than competition and cutting people down. So these are the basic character building traits, key values we must remember to inculcate in our students. And if we as a faculty do the job right, we'll be building the nation with the students of highest character, and they will become the most responsible citizens. And that is the order of the day. Now we'll segue into the implementation of National Education Policy 2020. So around middle of October, I was corresponding with the Council General of India here in Chicago regarding the National Education Policy and few other programs proposed or the conducted by the Ministry of Education. So I'd kept Professor Anil Sahasrabudheji, the chairman of AICTE, on the blind copy list, and he started communicating with me. He said, "You have some good ideas. Why don't you join the committee? We are chartering the final committee." Because after July 29, there were many deliberation, many workshops were put together by AICTE, and the final committee was constituted for about 10 days in last 10 days of October. And Professor Anil Sahasrabudheji was very kind to invite me to join and be part of the committee along with the 9 outstanding educationists from various parts of India. So it was a real delight to work with the esteemed group of educationists throughout India. And my special thanks to Colonel Venkat, the director of AICTE Faculty Development Cell, who managed to keep the flow going by looking into the output of the deliberation on a daily basis. Now, the committee was meeting during the afternoon time in India, which was early morning hours here. So my contribution was through email on a daily basis. Once the report will come out from what happened, what transpired on the day, through Colonel Venkat, I'll review it and send back my comments, and all the recommendations I had given were accepted and included as a part of the implementation plan, and we'll review that as we go forward. So the committee focused on the 9 major heads. First one was multidisciplinary and holistic education. Second one was equity and inclusion in higher education. I bolded certain items for which we have on the ground hands-on experience working with faculties from various institutes in India, more like a pilot, research, innovation, and rankings. Then global outreach of higher education, motivated, energized, and capable faculty, integrated higher education system, that is K through 12 plus higher education institute, seamless transition, governance and regulation, promotion of Indian languages, arts and culture, and the technology use and integration. So these were the 9 major area under which the implementation plan recommendations will develop by the committee. And I'm going to take you through short-term goals, which was for the year 2021, which is almost about to come to an end, then medium term and the long term. Now, the challenges in the short term for the 2021 were the core subject is the foundation course is 60% from the same institute or institute of equal ranking and rating, 20% program electives and 20% open elective with the option to basic sciences, humanities, etc. from anywhere, even online. So a good flexible program that you do the 60% core, 60% program, 20% program electives, and the last 20% open electives with the option to look into different multidimensional disciplines. Since the pandemic has taught us that the teaching and learning can be done online. Previously, it was face to face, and it can be blended as well. Particularly, you cannot have the lab sessions online in general, so better to have a blended program. Immediate revision of the curriculum with assessment tools and making of bridge courses. Big focus on access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability to all. And there was a big emphasis on use of mother tongue in primary, secondary education and all higher education institutes. One of the innovative thing in the short term was the credit recognition and transfer by setting up an academic bank of credit. So when students come into the institute, if they exit after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, etc., their academic credit are kept in the academic bank of credit, and that can be transferred across the institutes in India. Focus on internationalization of the Indian education system, having a collaboration where faculty and student exchanges happen. And of course, we talked about integration of school and higher education. So the policy should be seamless rather than disjointed effort on both sides. And major focus on vocational training, because people getting diploma or the degree are not good at hands-on activity. So you need the vocational training, and there is a lot of demand for people who could know how to do work as a carpenter, electrician, etc. So those are the jobs which can be learned and skills that can be learned through vocational education. So that was short-term goals for the first year. Medium-term goals for the following 4 years, 2022 to 2025, and try to simplify all higher education nomenclatures, the university, mobility of students in India, and establish more high quality higher education institute in aspirational districts and special education zones, establishment of education department in all higher education institutes, vocational training we talked about, policies and roadmap to implement all facets of education, including professional, technical, liberal, medical, law, agriculture, etc. And the more programs in higher education will use the mother tongue or the local languages as a medium of instruction. And this will promote and strengthen use and vibrancy of all Indian languages. Now, if we learn from K through 12 in our mother tongue, the basic knowledge and the foundation we receive is very strong. And personally, I went through that. My K through 11, that was the system in those times, 1962. I finished the 11th grade. It was mother tongue. I come from Gujarat, hometown of Amreli. So all my education was in my mother tongue. And I received the best education from the Gaekwad system of education because Amreli district was under the Gaekwad rule. And Gaekwad, the king, was very sort of highly focused on education and the best education system in that part of Gujarat. Now, transitioning to first year and second year, the entire medium of instruction was in English. And I joined Khalsa College in Mumbai. And the first 6 months, I had a lot of struggle to first learn properly the English and then focus on the subjects because transition from the mother tongue to English was a big challenge. But that was okay with the solid foundation in the basic education for 11 years allowed me to first learn the English and then focus on the rest of the subjects and understand what's going on in the classroom. Now, on the long-term goals for the last 10 years, 2026 to 2035, the vision of the NEP 2020 should be successfully achieved. Reduce the fragmentation of higher education system by transforming higher education institutes into multidisciplinary universities, and it should be one for every district, one multidisciplinary HEI in or near every district. There are well over 800 districts now in India, according to the latest data, 812. And 4-year B.Ed degree as minimal qualification for school teachers, and focus on Sanskrit University as a large multidisciplinary institutes of higher learning. So these were the snippets of the three different goals, short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals coming out from the ICTE Implementation Plan Committee. Now, after the committee's work was done, Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe encouraged me to write up 2 pages of all the work done by the committee and get it published both in India as well as in the US. And the first reference shown, skilloutlook.com, when the press release was sent with the 2-page document, within a day they published it. It's online documentation, skilloutlook.com. And I've been associated with Jyoti Vidyapit Women's University in Jaipur. They've put it up on their website, both English and the Hindi version. And 2 more publications. One from Mumbai, from my community, Kapol and Kapol Mitra, in my native language, Gujarati. And daily in Mumbai, Janmabhoomi Pravasi also published a full article in Gujarati. And of course, in US, several places, the article was carried in English. And this was just to let people know what the committee's deliberations were and what were the recommendations to take the NEP 2020 implementation forward. Now, let's begin on the nitty-gritty of the implementation itself for the national education policy. Now, the picture you are seeing here is going to Mount Everest. Now, you need to think about preparation, planning, and training. Unless you have that PPT done properly, you cannot go to Mount Everest and come back safely by reaching the highest peak and then come back safely. That will require tremendous amount of effort upfront. And implementing NEP 2020 is no less than going to Mount Everest. And that's how we need to think about that as a major project with the proper preparation, the plan, and the training needs to be done in order to successfully achieve the effective implementation of NEP 2020 across all education institutes, both at the school level, K through 12, and at the higher education institutes. So that's the challenge we are facing. Now, I've been very fortunate to have personal experience managing change or leading some of those change and observing some of the changes and transformation journeys for well over 36 years with the one entity in education sector, K through 12 in my school district in my area in Illinois, two government entities, one in Egypt and one in Turkey, 8 entities at the corporate level, on the professional side, 2 entities in the US, and on the nonprofit side, 2 entities where significant changes and transformation happened in my 36 years of observations. And a lot of things I've learned, and the learning from these transformation journeys were conveyed to the AICT committee to include those as a practical applications so that the transformation or the implementation will be more effective. I've been fortunate to work with the Baldrige Performance Excellence Framework since 1989 when I was working at the AT&T Bell Labs, one of the best company in the telecom business in India at that time, in the US at that time. And also fortunate to design and deliver project management and risk management courses globally since 2008. And we'll talk shortly, briefly about it as we go forward. So first thing we need to think about when we undertake any activity, any project, there's a big focus on planning. And this is what we can learn from Dr. Deming's cycle. Dr. Deming, along with Dr. Juran, were the two scientists sent by the US government to Japan for rebuilding their industrial economy. As we all know, Japan had lost everything during the World War II, so they had nothing else to lose. And they listened to these two scientists and they learned from them about quality management, quality improvement, process improvement, and they are able to apply those concepts to improve their quality of production. And now, as a result, they produce the finest electronics and automobiles in the world. So Dr. Deming's cycle is very simple but very practical. 4 components: plan, do, study, and act. Initially, it was check. Later part, Dr. Deming felt that check means inspection. So he said, replace check with study. So plan, do, study, and act. So what we need to do is focus on 10% excellent planning, which is the NEP 2020 policy itself. That was the effort over the 3 years. The committee met several times, and under Dr. Kasturi Rangan's leadership, the plan has been completed. Now we are confronted with the 90% effort to implement that NEP 2020 successfully, using that plan and then deploying the plan, studying the results of once we do some activity, what are the results? Are they good? If they are not good, make changes in the act and continue the cycle of plan, do, study, and act. And keep in mind that the planning without execution is futile, but execution without planning could be fatal. So in general, my observation is, since I've been coming to India for education, course delivery, etc., since year 2000, and in the academic side, 2006, I see not much focus on planning. Things happen at the last stage, so people feel happy. But if things go in a bad direction, they will be scrambling all the time. So that should not be the case. Any activity, any project you undertake, planning is a must. If you do good plan, you have a better chance of successfully completing that project. Now, I'll share with you some of the foundational aspects of the change management or the transformation journey. There are three pillars of success for change management. First one is the leadership, which provides the direction. So leaders are the one who create and lead the change, and they need to be present rather than delegating it to someone else. And same applies for NEP 2020. Implementation responsibility lies with the top leadership, whether it's a vice chancellor, principal, director, etc., depending on the nature of the institute. Second pillar of support or the excellence is the talent management, where the people, the faculties, and the staff who will deploy the NEP 2020, and they will implement the change. And you need to use the project management as a technical backbone to facilitate the change. So leadership, talent management, and project management are the three foundations, pillars of the change management. Now, seeing the transformation journey over a 36 years window, one thing has become very clear, that in order to successfully implement the change, you need the three C's to work harmoniously in sync with each other. So first C is the CEO, that is providing the change direction. And this for the educational institute will be the vice chancellor or director or a principal. Then we have CFO, Chief Financial Officer, that's the registrar for all the educational institute, who manages the finance side. And what is missing in action is the CPO, Chief People Officer. And this is the function, HR function, which is very well done in the industry. And the highest person from the HR essentially works with the CEO and CFO to understand what type of talent is needed to execute the change. And that is the same requirement for NEP 2020. So when we were delivering the FDP to leadership at various institutes in India, several of those educational institutes said either they have this HR function or they are thinking of creating the centralized HR function, which can recruit the right talent for all departments, as well as be very effective in selecting the people who needs to be trained so that they could be part of the NEP 2020 implementation. So these are some of the foundational areas. Wanted to get it out of the way. Now at this point, I've talked enough, so let me stop sharing, and we'll come back and look for your comments, questions, etc. So let me stop it here. Let's see, in terms of participants, we only have 26. The day two, we had 50 plus. Okay, so I'm opening the chat box. Kindly mute yourself. Put the question in the chat box, please, and comments for the material we have covered so far. And we'll take about 5 minutes, 6 minutes to clear out any quick questions, any doubt, etc. Please, no speaking, because everything is getting recorded and I may not pick up all the nuances of your questions. So best thing is use the chat box, put down your questions or comments. Would appreciate that very much. Anyone has a question or comment, please type it in the chat box and please keep coming in quickly. Would love to see if there are any unanswered issues, any queries you have in mind. We can clear that out now. A required group. So we need someone to start the ball rolling. And I'm sure at your educational institute, there must be some work going on at the end for the NEP 2020 implementation. Okay, so here is a question from the principal, Professor Dan Shetty. Is there any provision for converting Polytechnic to University of Vocational Education Training, Entrepreneurship and Research? I am not very familiar with this specific item you have raised. We can always get some input from AICTE on this issue. So I will defer this for a while. Anyone else? Any other questions? We have 25 people on the call, 29 now. Anyone has any questions, query, etc.? Okay, seeing none, I'll stop the chat and back to the sharing. So as I mentioned upfront, that we have a wonderful policy for all the educational institute to implement. But here are the key challenges. So let's review them and understand what will come in the way if we don't address these challenges. So first of all, in order to implement NEP 2020 effectively, we need to have a sound structure. Without the structure, you cannot have the implementation in an effective basis. So what will happen is, and I've seen this at various institutes, they're selecting items from the policy, things they like to do and want to do it, and then leaving the rest of the stuff out. So it's a selective work almost on a shotgun basis. Next, the recommendation I had given was that the importance of alumni and industry experts in implementing NEP 2020 is very critical, and that needs to be addressed. So your institute, if you have the alumni who have graduated from your institute, think of some who are capable and who have done well in the industry, invite them and ask for their help as a volunteer, and also engage with the industry experts in your area where you operate. The next two items, next item 3 is the communication of strategic plan with all stakeholders. Now, what I have been observing that the person highest level, either vice chancellor, or director, or a principal, will select generally the dean R&D to carry out this NEP 2020 implementation. That dean may be either himself or herself, or maybe few more people. They go out on the sideline, do the work, and there is absolutely no communication of what they have done and what help they need with the rest of the faculties and the staff. So that communication of the strategic plan you have put together for NEP 2020 is extremely important. We already talked about the seamless transition from K through 12 school systems to the higher education institutes. Item 5 and 6 are again big issue, uniform implementation approach across all HEIs and a need for sharing culture of successes and failures. Unfortunately, in India, everybody wants to keep their results private. They don't want to share it with anybody, and they want to become the best and suppress the others by not sharing their successes or the failures. Compared to that, here in the Western world, at least I've seen more openness when such kind of projects are getting implemented. People are willing to share their successes and failures at the institute level. And this is the cultural shift we need to think about in India. Again, item 7 talks about getting a change agents to come in from the out to bring the outside perspectives. And best part I'd suggested was that the 9 different institutes were involved in formulation of the implementation plan. They could start few pilots, understand the landscape, what works, what doesn't work, and help tighten up the implementation plan. Now, the item 9 and 10 are the most important challenges that the leadership at the institute must understand what is sustainability and what role they need to play. And they need to be committed, involved, and supportive throughout the transformation journey for getting it done in 15 years. Now, the project management, risk management knowledge is very important. So we'll talk a little bit more about it because, as I mentioned, NEP 2020 implementation is nothing but a project. So project management backbone is essential. We are dealing with a lot of uncertain areas, doing it for the first time. Hence, risk is inherent part of the project management. And proficiency in soft skill among faculties and students are very, very critical. So when faculties are proficient in the soft skills such as leadership, decision making, time management, teamwork, problem solving, project management, etc., they can pass on that learning to the students. And this is required to be successful as an engineer, as a technical expert, even as a business people. Now, one of the recommendation from the challenges side is the create a sound project structure for NEP 2020 implementation. So here are some simple guidance point. create a NEP 2020 council with the top leader in charge. So that will be your vice chancellor, director, or principal as pertaining to your own institute. Then appoint a champion, particularly a faculty who has the expertise and experience, proven track record with results, and a positive can do attitude, and is willing to become the volunteer. Then create three major clusters to align with the short term, medium term, and long term goals and objectives we just reviewed. And you can create additional subclusters as appropriate. And on each of the cluster, include one faculty, one alum, and one industry expert. And this is more like a Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So they bring in different discipline, and they need to be chosen based on their experience and expertise, their proven track record of getting the results, and a positive can-do attitude, and they are willing to become the volunteer and serve on those clusters. Now, as a starting point for all the teams at the highest level, they need to develop vision, mission, and values for NEP 2020. That's part of the strategic plan. And communicate the mission critical NEP 2020 strategic plan to all stakeholders. And I've shown that we can use the Japanese method of Hoshin Planning, which is management by planning, and I'll share that with you in the next slide. And we need to provide relevant training to all stakeholders, starting with the top leaders, followed by the middle level, where deans and department heads will be asked to carry out the implementation, and then soft skill at the lowest level at all levels of the faculty. Now, we already talked about importance of project management, so we can use that as a discipline to monitor the progress of the NEP 2020 by holding quarterly review for all NEP 2020 project progress, and use the newsletter and internet to communicate the progress on the implementation. And very important to make all the stakeholders accountable for delivering the results for NEP 2020 and celebrate NEP 2020 successes with all stakeholders. So having this simple but solid project structure will give you a roadmap how to go about completing your NEP 2020 implementation from now until the next 15 years, 2035, we need to finish that. Now, I mentioned about Hoshin Planning briefly. This is the Japanese method where all companies in Japan use this Hoshin Planning process to do it towards the end of the year before the new year starts. In the last few months, they work on this process for their strategic plan, where the top level CEO, the president, and the executive staff put together a 5-year vision and key strategic goals, which is communicated down to the next level of the vice presidents and directors, who develop the 1-year plan with objectives and action plan. And then that is communicated to the department level, and bottom up, the groups do the similar thinking, and they align their effort with the key strategic goals and try to remain in line of sight with the vision and strategy for the entire organization. And they normally work on 4 major goals, because you cannot work on many activities throughout the year to get effective results. So you focus on key issues on the customer side, employee side, process or operation side, and one on finance side. And this becomes your dashboard, the balance scorecard. And this method of communication takes a couple of months to give and take, and they come in the middle. So it's called a catch-ball process. And once this is set in place, it is communicated to all the stakeholders, internal as well as external. And that's what it takes for NEP 2020 to be communicated, the vision, mission, and values throughout the organization, so everybody can understand what role they can play to effectively deploy NEP 2020 and get the best results for their institute. Wonderful method to sort of use and become proficient in terms of communication, in terms of strategic planning. Now, I'll keep moving into the implementation in action. As I mentioned, for teaching and learning, one of the most important items is motivated, energized, and capable faculty. So I'll share with you two aspects where I've been involved personally: AICT, Atal FDPs, and IUC FDPs, Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education. So over the several years, actually last 5 years, I've been teaching faculties and research scholars in India. First, I came in 2016 at my alma mater, IIT BHU, Varanasi, to teach the Gyan program approved by the MHRD on effective project management. And then 2018 Fulbright Specialist Project on risk management. And over the years, I've been interacting with faculties from various institutes and colleges throughout India. Some of them on site when I traveled to India. Last I was there in 2019 and maybe 2023 when things settle down, because right now there is no plans on the card. But the whole idea of teaching the faculty to learn in a collaborative way, that is working as a team under the scientific guidance of expert faculty by doing a lot of introspection and reflection. And this CSIR acronym, which is quite familiar, you are all familiar with it, a famous acronym, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. And this is how faculty needs to learn. So if you observe, most of the FDPs are solo learning. There is no interaction with the faculty in the team setting to do any live project or even study an article in a collective group setting and provide the output, etc. So those are the kind of things have been delivered, and it works beautifully well. When faculty learn in the teams, they are much more proficient because they can build on each other members within the team, on their strengths, their knowledge, and have a better output on the assignments given to them. Now, here is a difference between average versus gifted teachers. The average teacher will explain the complexity, but the gifted teacher will reveal the simplicity. So our goal as a teacher faculty should be to take the most complex subject and make it so simple so the students and learners can grasp it, understand it, and use it. And that is the role we all need to think about if you want to become the gifted teachers. And it's a journey for the rest of your life. Now, as we all know, in Sanskrit, there are many forms of teacher. So at the very beginning, when we share the information only after getting the higher degree, join the education institute, we get the title of Adhyapak. When we add the knowledge to the information, we get a promotion to become the Upadhyay. When we share the skills, we become Acharya. When we share the insights, we become the Pandit. When we share the visionary thinking, we become the Drishta. And ultimately in life, when we start delivering the wisdom, sharing the wisdom from our lifetime journey, we get a title of guru, and that should be the aspirational journey. We all should strive to become the guru in the subject area of our interest and expertise. And keep in mind that we as a faculty educate students by engaging, energizing, entertaining, and empowering them. And you need to use any and all levers as appropriate of engaging, energizing, entertaining, and empowering them. Now, shifting the focus on the learner side. So I joined academia, as I mentioned, after about 17 years of industry experience. And what I learned was that in industry, everything gets done through the teams. So my focus in my classroom is I want everybody involved in my classroom, all the students, they should be involved in their own learning. And when they learn, they need to apply that learning in a team setting, working on live project. And they are required to share what they are finding out as a team. So a lot of intra-team, inter-team communication and sharing happens. And this is the best component of the peer learning, which I think we can do better in India. There's so much of knowledge and wealth of information available within the student body, and with various levels of their competencies and expertise, students can learn from each other. So that peer learning is extremely important. This is a simple model of involve, learn, apply, and share. ILAS in that order is very simple but easily doable in the classroom. And I've been successful at implementing it for the last 28 years. And I see good results at the end, that students get some real knowledge in my classes. And by the way, I have no midterm or no final exams. My assessment is continuous assessment throughout the semester by various means, and we'll talk about it briefly soon. Here I'm sharing with you the 12 keys to the kingdom for learners engagement. And if we do that, we can create magic in the classroom. So to start with, when you are starting out on a new topic, assign a student to do little research about the topic and ask the student to share what he or she found out, and keep rotating them as the topics change. Now, as a faculty, it's my obligation to share the importance and the real world application of the topic to excite my students. And as the icebreaker, we have some topical question when the session begins, and keep rotating students so everybody gets a chance to speak and share their thoughts. Again, very important, as a faculty, must deliver the basic concepts and principles so that the students don't have to memorize anything. And as we all know, our system is of rote learning. So students do mugging up, memorizing, and then vomit it in the class in the final or midterm exams. And after the exams, there is hardly any retention. And that is not the way to learn and acquire the knowledge. And as a faculty, we should be encouraging curiosity and innovativeness to flourish in the classroom. And when the session is over, at the end, ask for key takeaways from all students. So one or two key takeaways on the topic or the session which just ended. That will be what I'll be looking for from all of you who are attending my session today on the last day, session one. Now, reviewing some of the guidance from the Harvard Business Publishing, I borrowed item 8 through 11 from them. They are suggesting we can conduct short polls or do voting and arrange role plays as required. You can always set up a small group and assign them a topic to discuss in the group, and then come back and report to the entire class. And as I mentioned before, create teams to work on the live projects, simulated projects in the teams. and they write up the project report and make a final presentation. And think of bringing the guest speakers who can bring in the real world experiences and broaden the perspectives for everyone in the classroom. And as a faculty, we must replenish our knowledge so that we can give the cutting edge information to our students and excite them. And if we do all these things well, we get a gold star. So please make sure, and I've used all these items over the years, and I've seen the great impact with my students in the classes by doing this effectively. Because once they are engaged, they are going to learn more effectively, absorb the things you deliver to them as a faculty. Another model I wanted to review one more time is, as I mentioned, success in the industry is through the teamwork. So my goal when I started my the graduate level courses in the business school, I wanted to simulate a similar environment, what I observed the successful work environment in the industry to be duplicated in the classroom. So collaborative, experiential, and outcome-based learning and teaching. So team focus, the teams are formed right at the beginning of the class, and there is a required cooperation internally within the team and across the teams. Experiential, there is a case study approach, articles or cases from the Harvard Business Review, MIT Sloan Management Review, McKinsey Quarterly, Forbes, Inc. magazine, etc. The state-of-the-art articles are selected, and somewhere between 8 to 10 are studied in the class, assigned in the class, and I'll share with you how they do that article study for better retention. And as I mentioned, they work on a live simulated project in the team setting. And the last one is outcome based. So this is where come up with a reflection journal, one pager. I'll share a sample of that with the big focus on what you have learned in the classes, how are you going to implement it, and what's your plan of action. So collaborative, experiential, and outcome-based learning is the best way to learn anything in the classroom. So template for article summary, as we read many articles, but at the end of the day, we don't remember what we read. So retention is very poor. So by reviewing the article individually and then discussing in your team, I require them to focus on three aspects: key principles and practices from the article for the entire team, 3 to 4 key bullets agreed upon by the team, application and principles and practices in the function, individually by each member in the team by bridging theory with the practice where the focus is big 70% weightage, and then key takeaways from the article, 3 to 4 bullets common for the entire team. By forcing them to go through this and writing it on a 2-page summary requires a lot of thinking, reflection, introspection, and that's what is needed in order to pick up the nuances of what's happening, what they are learning from the state of the art article, which reflects the practice in various industries, various domains. And the reflection journal I mentioned at the end of the program, end of the course, on the last day, they fill out the 1-page reflection journal focusing on 3 key learnings from the FDP in the bullet form, 3 key lessons they will implement in the bullet form, and their plan of action to implement 3 key lessons in the bullet form. Now, keeping this focus on the reflection journal allows them to first capture what they have learned, what they are getting out of it, and what they will implement. And that is where I think we need to guide them, that implementation is the most important aspect of the learning. what's the role of the faculty? They need to excite the students first about the knowledge, about the topic, its importance, and real world application. Then you engage them, use the 12 items to create magic in the classroom. Then you empower them by giving them the right resources and then challenge them to tackle the difficult problems. And once they are grounded with the principles, kindly kindly stop your microphone, Shakuntala. Please stop your microphone. Sorry, I expect everybody to remain muted. This recording is going on and it cuts down the flow. And kindly stay muted, please. Thank you. All of you are learned faculty. Please follow simple guidance. And as a faculty, we should not be giving out the solution. We should give them where are the resources and point them to go and look into the resources and challenge them to tackle difficult problems, difficult issues, and find the solution themselves. And once they understand how to do it in the classroom, they can tackle any real challenges when they are confronted with it in the workplace, when they are working on real life problems and issues. So here are some of the recommendations I had given to the committee and which were accepted. That faculty development program is extremely critical in order for the NEP 2020 implementation to go forward. At the highest level, administration and leadership needs to have the grounding in sustainable change management, where the modules on sustainability, leadership, talent management, and project management are important. And there is a US Baldrige framework. I'll share that shortly. It is about the performance excellence in education institutes. And third one, very important, how do we engage students and faculty in the community service on a compulsory basis throughout the time when the educational institutes are in session. Then at the middle level, the project leads, deans, and department heads, they need to be trained in the project management and risk management. And all faculties should be exposed to soft skills program. And throughout our life as a educational, as an engineer, technical person, business people, and even as a faculty, we do variety of projects, and those projects to be successful requires foundation in leadership, decision making, time management, teamwork, and ultimately project management, including the risk management. And FDPs were designed with specific, rigorous, and collaborative assignments. And I'll share some of the highlights of the work done based on the recommendation given. Now, around January, February, I was interacting with Dr. Soni, who was managing the Atal FDP at that time. He has moved on to another assignment in the digital platform at AICTE. But they had about 127 emerging areas, FDPs identified for 2021, 2022. And my suggestion of 10 specific emerging area FDPs for NEP 2020 implementation was accepted and included. And several of these FDPs have been delivered by various educational institutes. And I'll share one example from the BVVS Polytechnic in Bagalkot itself on the Baldrige Performance Excellence Framework for Education, which was carried out in the early part of August of this year. Now, ICT, through in collaboration with NITA's National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research Centers, there are 4 of them, Chennai, Bhopal, Chandigarh, and Kolkata. I had volunteered and I was listed as an expert on three of them: on emerging pedagogy from Chennai, where the work is underway, institutional management for entrepreneurship out of Chandigarh, and institutional assessment out of Bhopal. Other two besides Chennai, I've not even heard from them. So because of the pandemic, their schedules have been delayed big time. I was very fortunate to give a about short 15 minutes presentation on 10th of May. And this screenshot was captured and shared on May 17th when AICTE had orientation session with well over 700 faculties from all around India were attending that orientation session. You can see the chairman Anil Sasabuddeji on the right side of my photo. Then right below me, Vice Chairman Punyaji, Member Secretary Rajiv Kumar, and bottom below Punyaji in the first column is Dr. Soni and another faculty from the AICTE. And what they were discussing that more than 7,000 experts where 25 countries experts were roped in, 32 came from the USA, and last year close to about 1,300 FDPs were delivered. This year, the new cycle 2021-2022, they are on track for completing 1,500 FDPs and setting some world records. Now, for change management, here is a wonderful resource. I would highly recommend looking this up, Leading Change book by John Carter, second edition from Harvard Business Review Press. And in 1996, the first edition by John Carter came out. He's a professor emeritus at Harvard Business School, and he's touted as the father of change management, Leading Change. Wonderful book. And also, in terms of the AICTE Atal FDPs from January 2021 to January 2022, 1 year window, I've been serving on 23 FDPs, 11 states, 2 union territory, 13 chief guest keynote addresses, mainly learners engagement, and then 24 sessions focus on leadership, Baldrige education frameworks, ethics and governance, teamwork, learners engagement, project management, human values, and career development guidance. And this is where I wanted to thank Dr. R.K. Soni, Ravindra Kumar Soni, who was the director leading AICTE Atal FDPs, for giving me the opportunity to interact with the faculties throughout India. So here is the US Baldrige criteria framework, a systems perspective. Now, US compared to Japan and Germany was losing its edge with respect to productivity on a world level. So the US government brought in the experts like Dr. Deming, Dr. Juran, and other quality stalwarts to put together a national award of excellence where they were going to recognize best of the best in the industry. So the criteria were postulated, and this program was approved by the US Congress in 1987. 1988, first set of awards were given out. And in the early years, it was for manufacturing, service, and small businesses less than 250 people. And this was only applicable for the US industries with headquarters in the US. Then in 2001, they expanded it to education, 2002 healthcare, and 2007 nonprofit, which included local, state, and federal level agencies, government agencies, and NGOs. So the framework has 7 categories. Leadership is like an engine. Then strategic planning, customer focus, measurement analysis, knowledge management, workforce focus, operations focus, leading to ultimately sustainable results. So category 1 through 6 are the processes, and category 7 is the actual results. And when people use this criteria, and this is nothing but the self-assessment, using the criteria, you measure up how well you have the strengths. That means your process and you are getting results. Or gaps, that means there is no underlying process and there are no results. By doing this self-assessment, it requires to write up 60 to 65 pages of write-up covering all 7 categories. And those who continue to work on it, they continue to improve, and then they apply for the Baldrige Award. When they apply, they get feedback from the experts who serve as the examiner and senior examiner and judges. And that feedback allows them to become better at putting new processes in place and getting good results and sustainable results over a period of time. And that's how this whole system works. And as I mentioned, here at BVVS Polytechnic in Bagalkot, the coordinator, Professor Renuka Ambigarji, put together a beautiful program. Professor Dan Shetty ji is shown here also. And we had experts from different domains, different areas throughout India, and myself from the US, delivering various categories of the Baldrige. So essentially, it was a very successful program as a part of emerging area pioneering AICTE Atal FDP for NEP 2020 implementation. Now, under IUCE umbrella, since 2020 summer through 2021, delivered the leadership FDP at the Vice Chancellor, Director, and Principal level. 16 were chosen and they volunteered to join the program out of 8 institutes across 4 states of India. And they learned about sustainability, leadership, talent management, project management, Baldrige, community service, etc. Then a project management FDPs was delivered to deans and department heads in July 2021. And 21 faculties attended from 8 institutes across 10 states in India. And they learned about project management, leadership, teamwork, communication, decision making, time management, risk management, process excellence, and project metrics. And soft skills FDPs was delivered in 2020 November, December on leadership, decision making, time management, teamwork, and project management, where 78 faculties from 18 institutes across 10 states of India, they benefited from that program and they were certified to become the soft skills expert to train their own faculties at their own institutes. And then there was a soft skill career development plan program for students, again on the same 5 topics, including one on career development, where 350 students from 35 different institutes, along with the faculty from those institutes, attended and did the homework, and they were graded. So all these FDPs were collaborative, experiential, and outcome-based teaching and learning process, very rigorous, but at the end, when we had the valedictory function, they all said we learned, we had to work hard, but the outcome was very positive. So here are some of the observations from those FDPs which have been delivered over the last 1 year. A robust student-centering teaching and learning pedagogy is very critical. And we need to ensure that the students are engaged through the class discussion and debates, make them interested in the topics, provide state-of-the-art cases and articles to read, discuss, and summarize in a simple and succinct way so that they can have a better retention, and require students to work on projects by applying the new knowledge gained. And soft skills are critical for success in all domains, and focus on continuous assessment in lieu of exams. And that is what I think we need to think seriously at the India scene, to reduce the focus and the emphasis on midterm and final exams and other exams throughout the semester, which doesn't help the students. It builds up the stress. And some people who are good at taking exams do not have the best knowledge at the end of the day. Now, let me bring in another important topic of community service. So, if all the higher education institute requires students to do compulsory community service, it will create 16 billion hours of project work per year. And it requires only simply 2 hours per week per weekend for 8 months when the institute sessions are in progress at a minimum. And what happens is the students, along with the faculty guidance, they go around to the surrounding communities, work with the community people to find out what the challenges and the areas where they need help, whether it's the education, healthcare, water, sanitation, irrigation, uh, or elderly care, uh, or food banks, whatever area where they need help. Student teams can be chartered under the guidance of the faculty, and they begin to work on the real life problems of the community by giving their time on a volunteer basis. So, what are the major benefits? They will understand the real needs of the community surrounding the institutes. They create relevant projects, and they start understanding how the project can be done successfully. They pick up the lifelong critical skills such as communication, leadership, decision making, time management, teamwork, problem solving, risk management, project management, taking initiatives, working with adults, and managing the time. And ultimately, it will help in nation building. So this is one of the component. We need to reflect back on the old times when everyone went to Gurukul, whether you were a king or a common person, they all have to work and serve the Guru in the Gurukuls. And at the end, when they graduate, they provide Guru Dakshina. So this concept of community service should be picked up in the same sense, that you have to deliver the community service, and the advantages are manifold. It will help in nation building. So think of it seriously if you are not doing it at your institute. Now, at this point, let me stop sharing and see if there are any questions, comments through the chat box. Any questions on the material we covered so far, and particularly on this community service? If you are doing something unique, please share so others can learn and benefit from it as well. We are 36 now, slowly it's picking up. It requires warm up. Okay, so my question to the principal, Dan Shetty ji, are there any community service projects you are doing at the BVVS Polytechnic in Bagalkot? If yes, please put it in the chat box. And likewise, others who are listening in, if you have any example to share about community service, please do so we can all learn from your experience. And as we discuss, the interactions are important, and sharing what you have been doing and successful at it or not successful at it, that is important to share. And we need to start thinking about doing it while we are sitting in the program here. Any input from the principal first, as well as others who are in the attendance? At least one or two people coming forward will be nice. Okay, doing community service under CDTP scheme and UBA. Can you briefly explain what is CDTP and UBA? And you may want to use the microphone because it will come out all clear when only one is open. Yeah, go ahead. Or else you can explain it briefly on the chat. I'm not familiar with the term CDTP scheme and UBA. Professor Dan Shetty, community development through Polytechnic. Okay, got it. And what is UBA? Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, got it. Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? If you are doing anything for community service at your institute, please type in. And if you are not doing it, think about getting it started. And it's very rewarding experience because ultimately we need to inculcate this spirit of community service in our students so they get the foundation while they are at the colleges and university. And when they are moving up in the hierarchy at the workplace in the industry, they can do more to help others in need. And that is the requirement which needs to be taken more seriously. Okay, not seeing any further thing there. Let me go back and continue to share, and then we'll have time for interaction at the end. Now, here I'm bringing up the importance of the soft skills. So if you look at the latest survey, the more than 90% of the executives are talking about in the new hires better soft skills over hard or technical skills. The last bullet shows that for a new hire, ability to work in a team is most desirable attribute of a new college graduate ahead of problem solving and analytical or quantitative skills. So what industry needs is better soft skills. Unfortunately, most of the curriculum throughout India do not include soft skills. So that is a major gap. And unless we take serious notice of it and include the soft skills courses in the curriculum, students are not ready and prepared to tackle the real world challenges. And then they are going to be left behind compared to the competition globally. So here is one example we have done since I've been teaching formally since 2006 in India. Come across students who are very brilliant, but they will focus on hard skills, technical skills only, and they overlook and ignore soft skill. So at my alma mater, IIT BHU Varanasi, we put together a 12-session leadership excellence series program Sixth item in blue, leadership, teamwork, time management, meeting management, decision making, project management as a soft skills. And six items in red, risk management, talent management, voice of customer management, operational excellence, supply chain, and sustainable change management as a part of quality management discipline. Delivered those 12 topics over one per month, so it spanned across 2 years, and all were used. We were using Google Hangout, which was free at that time, and recorded on YouTube and made it free, made it public, and it's written up by American Society for Quality, and it's on the India website. And we expanded this program to 100 colleges, universities in India. Early times, 2013 to 2016, it was reaching out to 675,000 students and faculties. And to date, including a lot of work during the pandemic through the online webinars, we have now reached 1 million students, faculties, and professionals throughout India. So here is the power of technology. The top right picture, Swami Nikhleswaranandji, who was with Vadodara Ramakrishna Mission, he has now moved to Rajkot as Atyaksh. He requested Commissioner Mr. A.J. Shah, shown in white shirt. He is now retired. And Commissioner gave me 45 minutes to deliver a talk on effective time management at the BISEC studio in Gandhinagar, the capital of Gujarat, where via satellite we connected with all 450 colleges throughout Gujarat and 500,000 students. 5 lakh students and faculty benefited. And the entire program was professionally recorded, and the YouTube link is shown. I've shared my presentation already with Renuka ji and today with Santosh Patil. So they'll be sharing it as appropriate for each of the modules. And those of you who have further interest in time management, you can look up that video. Now, here is a quick capture of a number of things been done with Atal FDPs and AICT short-term training program. The biggest one was the India's telecom company BSNL. They sent 16 batches, each batch of 30 to 35 people, altogether 500 people over 2 years window, 2017 to 2019, were trained in the talent management topics, talent management for career advancement topics at my alma mater. And it was almost like 35 hours program on site where I delivered via satellite, via Zoom, 15 hours of training on various topics of talent management. Uh, so Monday through Friday, India time, 3 hours in the morning, 8 to 11 IST. Various education institutes, about 100 of them, soft skill program, more work at IIT BHU, Indo-Universal Collaboration, engineering education, 40 sessions, and a number of other institutes, including NGOs from Gurgaon and Kolkata, were imparted the soft skill training. And government of Gujarat, we already talked about 5 lakh students and faculty benefited. Very happy to share that this soft skill program using technology was was awarded a DL Shah Quality Award in Silver category by the Quality Council of India on 20th of August 2016 in New Delhi at the 11th National Quality Conclave. And my wife was traveling with me. The trustee of the DL Shah Quality Award is shown here, Mr. Hari Taneja, and the rest were the members of the team. So now we will talk a little bit about the 2020 deployment projects on IUC FDPs very briefly. So first, AICT Atal FDP 38th session, 14th as a chief guest. Overall, the level of engagement in these FDPs is quite low. And general FDP issues to address is better attendance of registered people. Only between 20 to 60% of those who sign up attend. So maximum 200 people can sign up for Atal FDPs, but people after signing, they are not attending, and that is a waste of resources because AICT is spending so much effort in terms of the providing resources in real money to conduct these FDPs to institutes. And if the faculty signing up and not attending is a loss. Greater engagement of attendees during the FDPs, and those FDP needs to be collaborative, experiential, and outcome-based. Now, AICTE started doing the observation by appointing expert peer reviewers, and initially there were about 7 people. Right now, only 5 are left, 4 from India, and I'm the one from outside of India. Reviewed 46 Atal FDPs across education institutes. Generally, most of the FDPs are well conceived and executed. The attendance issue is very serious, 10 to 50%. Like one place, 200 people had signed up and confirmed. The session I attended as an expert reviewer, there were only 20 people out of 200 attending, and which is very sad that we do not take things seriously, because once you sign up, make a commitment and attend to get the best knowledge. Now, at some places, they were stacking up their own institute people to become the resource faculty. They need to cast the net wide and bring variety of experts from different institutes and industry, not their own institute. And there are some stipulation and guidelines from AICTE, and some of them don't follow the guidance as well. For IUC Leadership FDP, we looked at the general sessions, general guidance, but 8 institute, 4 states, 16 leaders, and they developed Baldrige framework, self-assessment, and community service plan. And this one, the outcome of these was the real life applications at their institute. On the research and innovation, there were 2 teams working, both from the Maharashtra area, 10 faculties, motivated, energized, and capable faculty. 2 institutes from Karnataka, 4 faculties were on that project. Ranking 3 institutes, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Tamil Nadu, 3 faculties. And technology use and integration, 1 institute in Karnataka, 4 faculties. Now, it's very important that when you do a project, to have a project charter completed. So project management FDP, we gave so many useful templates, the structure around which they can include the real work they are doing in the team. And they completed the project baseline using the one of the excellent article published in Business Horizon, and completed a project plan using a template given to them. Now, importance of the project charter. So either you are doing a research project or doing NEP 2020 implementation, you need to have a project charter created, which is a blueprint to plan and take actions on the project. It will allow you to have fact-based decision making. It will clearly identify all the stakeholders upfront. It focuses on the project's vision and the mission. It will require for you to come together with the objectives, deliverables, and the milestones. It will identify and prioritize risk for the project, and it requires communication strategy for the entire project. And the charter is signed off by the sponsor and the project leader. and it freezes the project scope. So whatever is in the charter, you work on it. Rest is outside the charter. Unless you get more resources, you don't undertake any extra activity. So every project, you should definitely insist on having a project charter completed by the team. Now, here is a wonderful article. You can look it up by Pinto and Kharbanda, Business Horizon. It's a little bit aged article, but it's beautiful. I've been using it in all my project management classes since 2008 at Northwestern University, and for last 3 years at my alma mater, Illinois Institute of Tech. The article shows 12 ways to fail in the project without trying. So they come from the opposite side. Look at the failure factors and keep in mind that you don't want to fall into those traps, and keep those failure factors in mind and develop a successful project and implement it 100% success. Now, I want to share with you one additional resource that if you are improving your process or developing a new process, you can use this framework, which I had used it at AT&T Bell Labs when we were working on establishing the employee recognition process back in 1992 for 6,000 people across 4 countries, across 3 countries, UK, Netherlands, and US, across management and non-management, including union people. So first you can do is do internal benchmarking for the process you are trying to develop. That is learning the best practices internally. Do external benchmarking for the go out and look at other institute, other industry people on a given process. Gather customer requirements. Your own employees are the customers. Do the surveys, do interview, etc. Based on step 1, 2, 3. In the fourth step, you design a process. Fifth step, you validate the process using going back to the step 3. Then your final process is put together and you deliver it to get the executive buy-in. And once the executives buy in, you roll out the process with the first training of all the executives and then train the trainer approach to the rest of the people. It's a neat way to continuously focus on essential area for developing a new process or improve an existing process. Risk management, I mentioned another great resource by Tom Kendrick, third edition. He is a faculty at University of California at Berkeley, and he was very kind to share with me his slide deck, which I've used since 2013 in the courses I teach here on risk management, semester-long courses. So in summary, for this module, NEP 2020 implementation is a transformation journey which will require a laser-sharp focus on a wartime footing. Now, to achieve a successful journey, we need to empower all stakeholders by harnessing their expertise, experience, knowledge, and wisdom. And we need to provide relevant training to all the stakeholders as we discuss leadership, middle level, and all faculties, adopt global best practices in education in India, and most important, create execution discipline for the rollout of NEP 2020. Because as we know in India, we have a tendency to have a lot of debate and discussion, but when time comes for action, the ground is open because nobody is there to take any action. Everybody has shifted to next big debate. And require accountability for sustainable results and learn to share good practices and results through collaboration so everybody benefits. And there should be zero political interference from the government. We can have some pulse of wisdom from Nelson Mandela. He says the education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And NEP 2020 gives us an excellent opportunity to implement it in an effective way to achieve the best education in India and become the beacon of light for the rest of the world. So with that, my request is to write down two key takeaways from the session, what you are taking out from my session today, this morning. And I'll also request you to write it down in the chat box. And I will expect all of you to help us in this. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll be ready to take the questions and then comments and then the feedback in terms of key takeaway. Okay, there was one more input. Blood donation camps are conducted every year under National Service Scheme, NSS. So that's great. Okay, let's open the chat box. That was from Rekha. Thank you, Rekha. Now the module is over. Please, if you have any questions, type it in. If not, if any comments, what you liked from the program, and that most important, what is at least one key takeaway from the module you just listened to. Okay, thank you from Rekha. Okay, kindly type in either question, comments, or one key takeaway for sure. And we are roughly about 7 minutes before my session ends. Please come in. Let's make good use of the time, 7 minutes. Very quiet group. Hope all of you are either paying attention or listening rather than going to sleep during the session. 38 people at the moment. Okay, so Santosh Patil, respect to teachers. Yep, that's a great takeaway. Unless we respect teachers, we cannot get the knowledge. So Guru Bina Gyan Nahi. We need to respect our teachers. They are the one who are giving us the great knowledge. Okay, keep going. More people writing down key takeaway. If you don't have a question, it's okay. And you will be getting the the PDF file of my presentation. Few more takeaways, please help. Today is the last day and we are the first session, so let's have a warm up. Please write down at least one key takeaway. And I see 37 people in the session. Few more people to write down. Not to forget our history. Yes, very important. We need to learn from our old heritage and try to see if we can reach the preeminence. At one time during Nalanda and Takshashila time, India was at the glory in terms of the education. People from all over the world came to India to get the knowledge in all different disciplines. I was hoping that we'll get few more people to write down their key takeaway. Role of faculty is implementation of NEP. Yes, engage them, excite them, and you will need their help to do it because one person alone cannot do it. And that is, I think, the one thing we all have to learn, to have more people involved in the important projects so that everybody can provide a contribution to help the institute. Thank you, Dan Shetty ji, for that input. Few more input, please. Time is ticking. We have 4 minutes left. Shankar Guru, not to forget what we to learn and implementation of knowledge and information to try to improve, help improve others also. Yes, very good point. Rather than you become the only expert, take everybody along at your institute and go outside of institute as well. Open source type of concept. What is working, what is not working, share it with others. How to involve the society in implementation of the NEP 2020. Yeah, the society can be involved. First, the alumni who are working in the industry as well as industry experts should be brought in, as I mentioned, in the structure, create a trio in the cluster like Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, the expert faculty, expert alum, and expert industry person. So this is how the community and the society can help in NEP 2020 implementation. Okay, one more key takeaway, please. Anyone? Okay, I don't see much input coming in. So back to you, Principal Professor Dan Shetty ji. You can do the closing. Principal Dan Shetty ji, please come in. We are in the last one. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
You can, yeah, you can do the closing,
Hello.
please.
Hello,
Yeah, you are
Santosh.
audible.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. You can do the closing. Sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible. Kindly do the closing, please.
Hello, sir. Dan Shetty, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Can I hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay, sir. Good morning to all, sirs, and good morning to respected Manu Vora sir ji. Today the presentation was very excellent, and it was a more informative, and we got a lot of insights regarding the implementation of National Education Policy 2020, especially the Baltic framework, which is being proposed by Dr. Manu Vora, is very much essential for implementation of National Education Policy 2020, especially in Indian context. So that's why we learned a lot of things from this presentation, especially the exact role of faculty members and leaders of the institution to be engaged and to be motivated and to be energized. So all these things are very much important. We learned from Dr. Manu Vora sir. And one more thing, national education policy has to be implemented very systematically, scientifically, and synergetically in the India. So the such type of presentation are very much useful and essential for implementation. It is my opinion. And one more thing, Professor Voraji have expressed the importance of values in the education system. As per our vision of NEP, the education system should be rooted in Indian ethos. So the professor have told Indian ethos very systematically. So that is why we have to inculcate more values in the students, and the values should be inculcated, or value should be included in the curriculum to be very good personality. So that is why the presentation was really beautiful and excellent. And at the outset, I would like to express my wholehearted thanks to our Manu Vora sir. Thank you, one and all, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dana Shetty ji.
Yes,
And
thank
all
you,
of
sir.
you who are listening in, please take something back to your institute, work with your top leaders, and implement NEP effectively. And if you need any help, reach out to AICTE, and we will be very happy to help if you need any help. So with that,
Yes,
I'm be signing off, and thank you, Principal Dana Shetty ji, for
thank you.
kind support and excellent organization. So very happy, and thank you, Santosh Patil ji,
Thank you,
for
sir.
all the technical support to make
Thank you,
it
sir.
seamless and run it beautifully. So thank you again, and thank you all the participants for hanging in there. Learn something new and apply. That is the best way to learn and get some value out of it. So with that, I'll be signing off. It's approaching 11:32 at night, and time to take rest. Bye bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Okay, good night.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
out you. Bye bye. All the
Bye bye.
best. Bye.
All the best.